The discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display, her reflection ghosting across streams of genetic data that shouldn't exist. The quantum-enhanced microscope hummed softly in the background of her lab aboard the International Space Station's new xenobiology wing, its readings defying everything she thought she knew about human genetics. "Computer, run the sequence analysis again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. It was 3 a.m. station time, and she'd been awake for nearly 20 hours, but sleep was the furthest thing from her mind. "Analysis complete," the AI responded. "Results unchanged. Human genetic sequence contains approximately 37% unidentified base patterns operating on quantum superposition principles. These patterns do not conform to any known biological classification system in the galactic database." Sarah ran her fingers through her short black hair, her mind racing. When the Galactic Union had arrived on Earth 5 years ago, bringing with them technologies beyond human imagination, they'd also brought their comprehensive database of life throughout the known universe. Every species, from the crystalline beings of Proxima Centauri to the gas giant dwelling Jovians, had been cataloged, their genetic codes mapped and classified. Humanity had been accepted into the galactic community with a pat on the head, a young species still finding its feet. But now, a soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Priority communication from Galactic Union Science Division. The computer announced. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't reported her findings yet. How did they know? The holographic display shifted, revealing the familiar form of first scientist Anx Halora, their iridescent scales shimming even through the projection. The Arcturian's multiple eyes focused on Sarah with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Dr. Chen." Anx Halora's translated voice carried an undertone of urgency. "Our quantum monitoring systems detected your analysis. Please explain what you found." Sarah took a deep breath. "First scientist, I was conducting routine genetic mapping of human volunteers for the Unity database when I discovered something unprecedented. Using the quantum microscope you provided, I found patterns in human DNA that operate on principles we don't understand. They exist in a state of quantum superposition, somehow maintaining stability at biological temperatures." "Impossible." Anx Halora's scales shifted to a deep purple of concern. "Quantum coherence cannot be maintained in organic systems at such scales." "The noise." "I know," Sarah interrupted, then caught herself. "My apologies, first scientist, but I've verified these readings multiple times. Something in human DNA is protecting these quantum states, allowing them to persist and interact with classical genetics in ways we've never seen before." The Arcturian was silent for a long moment. "How many humans have you tested?" 57 so far. The patterns appear in all of them, though the expression varies slightly between individuals. And you found no match in the galactic database. None. These structures are completely unknown. Anx Halora's scales rippled with colors Sarah had never seen before. "Dr. Chen, you will cease all further testing immediately. A research delegation will arrive at your station within 48 hours. Contain all data and samples until then. This is now a Priority 1 investigation." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Sarah alone with her discovery. She turned back to the holographic display, watching the mysterious patterns dance through the genetic code of her own DNA sample. Humanity had just become much more interesting to the galaxy at large, and she wasn't sure if that was a good thing. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of activity. Sarah's lab was sealed by station security, and she was relieved of all other duties. She spent the time reviewing her data, trying to understand what she was seeing. The quantum patterns seemed to form networks throughout the genome, like a secondary nervous system made of probability waves and entangled states. When the Galactic Union ship arrived, it wasn't the small research vessel she'd expected. The massive ship that took up position alongside the space station was a sovereign-class science vessel, the kind usually reserved for first contact situations or major xenological discoveries. The delegation that boarded included not only scientists but also representatives from the Galactic Security Council. Sarah watched through the observation window as they underwent decontamination, their various forms, from the towering crystalline proxions to the floating gas-filled spheres of the Jovians, filling the chamber. Dr. Chen. Station Commander Rodriguez's voice came from behind her. They're requesting your presence in the main conference room. Sarah nodded, straightening her uniform. How many? 17 delegates from 12 species, Rodriguez replied, falling into step beside her as they walked through the station's curved corridors. Whatever you found, it's got them spooked. Not spooked, Sarah corrected, though she wasn't entirely sure. Interested. The conference room had been modified to accommodate the various environmental needs of the delegation. Sarah took her seat at one end of the room, facing the assembled representatives of the most advanced civilizations in known space. First scientist Anx Halora floated forward in their containment field. Dr. Chen, please present your findings to the full delegation. For the next hour, Sarah walked them through her discovery. She showed them the quantum patterns, demonstrated their stability, and presented her preliminary analysis of their possible functions. The room remained silent throughout, but she could sense the growing tension. Finally, a Proxian crystal form shifted, sending rainbow refractions across the room. These patterns, its harmonic voice resonated through the translation field. They bear similarity to theoretical models of consciousness transmission. The room erupted in overlapping translations as multiple delegates began speaking at once. Sarah caught fragments of discussion about quantum consciousness, evolutionary impossibility, and security implications. Anx Halora raised all 4 arms for silence. Dr. Chen, have you observed any unusual abilities or phenomena among the humans you tested? Sarah hesitated. She hadn't included it in her report, but there have been some anomalies. Test subjects reported increased intuition, occasional precognitive dreams, and in 3 cases, what appeared to be minor incidents of spontaneous psychokinesis. A Jovian's containment sphere darkened to deep crimson. It's happening already. The quantum consciousness is awakening. We don't know that, Sarah protested. These could be coincidences or... She stopped mid-sentence as every piece of loose equipment in the room began to float. The delegates turned to stare at her, and Sarah realized with a shock that she was the one doing it. Somehow, she knew exactly how to manipulate the quantum fields around her, as if she'd always known but had forgotten until this moment. As the objects settled back onto surfaces, Anx Halora's scales shifted to a color Sarah had never seen before. The human species has entered a new phase of evolution, they announced. And we are all witnesses to it. Sarah looked down at her hands, feeling the quantum patterns in her DNA humming with potential. Humanity wasn't just taking its place among the stars. It was about to change them forever. The investigation. News of humanity's quantum DNA spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. Within days, Earth's orbit had become a gathering point for research vessels from every major civilization in the Galactic Union. The planet's night sky sparkled not just with stars, but with the lights of hundreds of alien ships, each hoping to unlock the secrets of human genetic potential. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself transferred to the Galactic Union's premier research facility on Mars, established just 3 years earlier as part of Earth's integration into the wider galactic community. The massive dome complex stretched across Valles Marineris, its quantum shields protecting it from the harsh Martian environment, while allowing an unobstructed view of Earth hanging in the rusty sky. The patterns are becoming more active, Dr. Zix 427 observed, their crystalline form refracting light across the laboratory's holographic displays. The Proxian geneticists have been assigned as the lead researcher for the investigation, their species' natural affinity for quantum mechanics making them uniquely suited to understanding the phenomenon. Sarah nodded, watching the real-time display of her own DNA. The quantum patterns pulsed with increasing frequency, like a signal growing stronger. It's happening across the board. Every human we've tested shows the same acceleration, but not uniformly. Zix 427 noted, their crystalline fingers manipulating the holographic data. The activation seems to correlate with cognitive engagement. The more a subject uses their emerging abilities, the stronger the patterns become. Sarah had noticed this herself. Over the past week, her own abilities had grown exponentially. What started as simple telekinesis had evolved into something far more profound, a deep understanding of the quantum nature of reality itself. She could sense the probability waves surrounding objects, see the interconnected web of quantum entanglement that linked all matter. We've identified similar structures in ancient genetic samples, a new voice announced. Dr. Liana Santos, Earth's leading paleogeneticist, entered the lab with her own holographic display. They're degraded, but they're there. These patterns have been part of human DNA for at least 200,000 years. Dormant, Sarah mused, waiting for something to trigger them. The question is, what triggered them now? Zix 427's crystalline surface rippled with thoughtful patterns. Why at this precise moment in human history? Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights pulsed as the facility's AI announced, "Warning. Quantum anomaly detected. Multiple instances of spontaneous human quantum manifestation detected across Earth." The holographic displays filled with incoming data. Across the planet, thousands of humans were suddenly displaying abilities similar to Sarah's. Reports flooded in of telekinesis, telepathy, and even more exotic phenomena. In New York, a teenager had unconsciously generated a quantum field that suspended gravity in a 10-block radius. In Beijing, a grandmother had spontaneously developed the ability to see through solid matter by perceiving quantum tunneling probabilities. "It's spreading," Dr. Santos whispered, her eyes wide as she watched the data stream. "The activation is accelerating exponentially." Sarah felt it too, a growing sense of connection to every other human being experiencing this awakening. Their collective consciousness was beginning to resonate across quantum fields, creating a network of shared awareness that transcended physical distance. Zix 427's crystalline form vibrated with excitement. This is unprecedented. The quantum patterns are synchronizing across the entire human species. They're forming a coherent quantum field on a planetary scale. But not everyone viewed these developments with enthusiasm. The lab's main communication screen activated, showing an emergency session of the Galactic Security Council. Representatives from dozens of species argued heatedly about the implications of humanity's transformation. They must be contained. The Jovian delegate's gas-filled sphere pulsed with alarming patterns. This level of quantum consciousness in a species as young and unpredictable as humans poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. "Containment is impossible," another delegate countered. "The quantum fields are already too strong. Any attempt to suppress them could have catastrophic consequences." Sarah stepped forward, addressing the council directly. "With respect, honorable delegates, you're missing the point. This isn't a threat to be contained. It's an opportunity to be understood. The quantum patterns in our DNA might be the key to understanding consciousness itself. And what happens when humans learn to manipulate reality itself through quantum consciousness?" the Jovian demanded. "What happens when children with the power to alter probability fields throw tantrums?" "We learn to control it," Sarah replied firmly, "just as every spacefaring species learned to control their unique abilities. The Proxians learned to manage their crystalline phase shifts. The Jovians mastered their atmospheric manipulation. Humanity will learn to handle this responsibility too." The debate raged on, but Sarah's attention was drawn to something else. Through the quantum field linking humanity, she sensed a growing awareness, a collective understanding emerging from the shared consciousness of billions of awakening minds. Humanity wasn't just developing new abilities. It was evolving into something entirely new, something that could bridge the gap between classical and quantum reality. In the Mars facility's observation dome, Sarah watched Earth glowing in the distance, now surrounded by a subtle quantum aurora visible only to those who knew how to perceive it. Whatever humanity was becoming, there would be no turning back. The only question was whether the galaxy was ready for what would emerge from this transformation. Zix-427 joined her at the window, their crystalline form reflecting Earth's light. Your species stands at a crossroads, Dr. Chen. The path you choose from here will affect not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Sarah smiled, feeling the quantum patterns in her DNA pulse with potential. Who says we have to choose just one path? In quantum mechanics, all possibilities exist simultaneously. Maybe that's what humanity brings to the galaxy. The ability to explore all possibilities at once. The quantum aurora around Earth flickered, as if in response to her words, and Sarah knew that this was just the beginning of humanity's journey into a reality far stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. The awakening. 3 weeks after the initial discovery, Earth had become unrecognizable. The quantum awakening had spread to nearly 40% of the human population, transforming daily life in ways that defied conventional physics. Streets in major cities now featured floating transport lanes, created and maintained by networks of human quantum consciousness. Hospitals had begun employing teams of quantum-sensitive humans who could perceive and manipulate the probability fields around injured patients, accelerating healing to miraculous rates. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the center of Times Square, marveling at how quickly humanity had adapted to its new reality. The traditional electronic billboards now competed with floating quantum holograms projected directly from human consciousness. Children played games that involved manipulating probability fields, their laughter echoing as they phased through solid objects in elaborate games of quantum tag. Remarkable adaptation rate, Zix-427 observed, their crystalline form drawing curious glances from passersby. Your species has accomplished in weeks what took others centuries to master. We had to, Sarah replied, watching a group of construction workers using quantum manipulation to effortlessly assemble a skyscraper. The abilities emerged too quickly for us to take it slow. A gentle chime in her quantum field alerted her to an incoming communication. Dr. Santos' consciousness touched hers through the growing human quantum network. Sarah, we need you at the UN. Something's happening with the collective field. Sarah reached out with her consciousness, linking with the quantum transport network. In an instant, she and Zix-427 were standing in the United Nations General Assembly, now transformed into the Earth Quantum Coordination Center. The massive chamber hummed with the combined quantum signatures of human representatives from every nation, their consciousness creating patterns of light that danced through the air. Dr. Santos stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the global quantum field. Look at this, she said, gesturing to a particular pattern. The collective field is forming new structures. It's like humanity's quantum consciousness is trying to organize itself. Sarah extended her perception into the data. The quantum patterns that had first appeared in human DNA were now manifesting on a planetary scale. Billions of human minds were unconsciously synchronizing, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. It's a metamorphosis, a new voice announced. Dr. James Chen, no relation to Sarah, stepped forward. The quantum physicist had been one of the first to develop advanced abilities. Humanity isn't just gaining new powers, we're becoming a new form of collective consciousness. Suddenly, every quantum-sensitive human on Earth felt it. A surge of awareness that transcended individual minds. For a brief moment, Sarah experienced the thoughts and feelings of billions of people simultaneously. She saw through countless eyes, felt with countless hearts, understood with countless minds. The moment passed, but it left behind a lingering connection, a sense that humanity had taken its first step toward something unprecedented in galactic history. This is what we were afraid of, the Jovian delegate announced, their containment sphere pulsing with anxiety patterns. They had been observing from a specially designated area for non-human representatives. Your species is forming a collective quantum consciousness. The security implications are extraordinary. Zix 427 interrupted, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement, but not in the way you fear. Look at the pattern structure. The holographic displays shifted, showing the intricate quantum web that now connected human consciousness. Unlike the rigid hierarchies of traditional networks, this was something organic, fluid, and fundamentally harmonious. The quantum patterns preserve individual consciousness while enabling collective awareness, Sarah explained, understanding flowing through her enhanced perception. We're not losing ourselves. We're expanding what self means. Reports began flooding in from around the world. The quantum network was enabling unprecedented cooperation and innovation. Language barriers dissolved as concepts flowed directly from mind to mind. Scientific breakthroughs occurred hourly as researchers shared insights through direct consciousness transfer. But with the expansion of human capabilities came new challenges. Some people struggled to control their abilities, their emotional states causing quantum fluctuations that affected their surroundings. Others found the constant connection to the collective consciousness overwhelming, retreating into specially shielded shelters for periods of quantum silence. The Galactic Union observation fleet in orbit had doubled in size, their sensors trained on the unprecedented phenomenon unfolding below. Some ships broadcasted messages of celebration and welcome, while others maintained ominous silence, their weapons systems humming with barely contained energy. "They're afraid," Sarah noted, sensing the tension radiating from the ships above. "Not just of what we are now, but of what we're becoming." "With reason," Dr. Santos replied, manipulating the holographic displays. "The quantum field is still growing stronger. At this rate, within months, humanity will achieve capabilities that even the most advanced species in the galaxy haven't mastered in millions of years of evolution." Sarah turned to Zix 427, who had been unusually quiet. "What does your species make of all this? The Proxians have the most advanced understanding of quantum mechanics in the galaxy." The crystalline being's surface rippled with complex patterns. "We see in humanity's transformation echoes of ancient prophecies, stories of a species that would bridge the gap between classical and quantum reality, between individual and collective consciousness. We never imagined it would happen so fast, or that we would be here to witness it." As if in response to these words, the quantum field pulsed with new energy. Every quantum-sensitive human felt it. A glimpse of what they were becoming, a vision of potential that stretched beyond the boundaries of conventional physics and consciousness. In that moment, Sarah understood that humanity's awakening was more than just an evolutionary step. It was the beginning of a journey that would reshape not just their species, but the very nature of life in the galaxy. The question was no longer whether humanity would change the universe, but how the universe would adapt to a humanity that was becoming something entirely new. The confrontation. The warning came through the quantum network like a thunderclap. A massive fleet of ships had just emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Vessels belonging to the Conservative Alliance, a coalition of species that viewed humanity's quantum evolution as an existential threat to galactic stability. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, formerly the Pentagon, watching as holographic displays showed hundreds of warships taking up attack positions. The human quantum network hummed with tension as billions of connected minds processed the threat simultaneously. "They're demanding our immediate surrender and submission to genetic suppression procedures," announced Admiral Helena Rodriguez, her consciousness seamlessly sharing tactical data through the quantum field. "They claim they're acting in the interest of galactic security." Zix 427's crystalline form pulsed with distress patterns. "This is madness. The Conservative Alliance has no authority to make such demands. The Galactic Union Council hasn't even finished their deliberations on the human situation." "They're not waiting for deliberations," Sarah replied, her enhanced perception reading the quantum signatures of the approaching ships. "They're afraid of what we're becoming, and fear makes people act irrationally, regardless of species. The Alliance fleet's quantum signatures blazed with aggressive intent. Their ships carried weapons designed to disrupt quantum fields, technology that could potentially devastate humanity's newly awakened abilities. But they hadn't counted on how quickly humans had learned to manipulate quantum reality. Through the collective quantum network, Sarah felt the calm determination of Earth's leadership. There would be no surrender, no submission to forces that sought to suppress humanity's evolution. But neither would there be aggressive retaliation. Humanity had glimpsed too much of the universe's underlying harmony to resort to violence. "We're receiving a transmission from their command ship," Dr. Santos announced, her consciousness interfacing directly with Earth's communication systems. The holographic display shifted, showing the Alliance's supreme commander, a Duraxian, their crystalline exoskeleton dark, with patterns of authority and determination. "This is your final warning." The commander's translated voice resonated through the chamber. "Submit to containment, or we will be forced to take action to protect the galaxy from the threat you represent." Sarah stepped forward, her consciousness automatically translating her words into all known galactic languages simultaneously. "We understand your fear," she began, "but you're making a mistake. Humanity's evolution isn't a threat. It's an opportunity. We're not becoming weapons. We're becoming bridges." "Bridges to what?" the Duraxian demanded. "To understanding," Sarah replied. "The quantum patterns in our DNA, they're not just giving us new abilities. They're showing us how everything in the universe is connected. We're learning to see reality as it truly is, not as separate pieces, but as one interconnected whole." "Pretty words," the commander scoffed, "but they don't change the fact that your species has gained more power in 2 months than most races achieve in millennia. You're too young, too unpredictable." The Alliance fleet began powering up their weapons. Sarah felt the quantum disruption fields building, designed to tear apart the delicate quantum coherence that now sustained human consciousness. But she also felt something else, a growing resonance in the human quantum network, billions of minds working in perfect harmony. "You say we're too young," Sarah continued, "but age isn't everything. Sometimes the youngest see what the eldest have forgotten. Let us show you." At that moment, humanity acted as one. Through the quantum network, every awakened human joined their consciousness in a synchronized effort. They didn't attack the Alliance fleet. They embraced it. Quantum fields extended from Earth, not disrupting or destroying, but connecting. Every ship in the Alliance fleet found itself enveloped in a gentle quantum resonance that let them feel what humanity had discovered. The fundamental interconnectedness of all things, the harmony that underlaid the apparent chaos of reality. The Duraxian commander gasped as their crystalline form resonated with the field. Through the quantum connection, they experienced firsthand what humanity had become, not a threat to the galaxy's order, but a key to understanding it more deeply. Ships across the Alliance fleet began powering down their weapons as their crews experienced the same revelation. The quantum field showed them not just humanity's potential, but their own, revealing depths of reality their species had never imagined. "This," Sarah explained softly, "is what we've been trying to tell you. The quantum patterns in our DNA aren't weapons or tools of power. They're windows into the true nature of existence, and they're not just for us. They're a gift for all sentient life." The Duraxian commander was silent for a long moment, their crystalline form shimmering with new patterns of understanding. We had no idea. This is not what we expected to find. Few of the universe's greatest discoveries are what we expect," Zix 427 added, their own crystalline form resonating with the field. "That's what makes them wonderful." As the Alliance fleet stood down, Sarah felt a new pulse through the quantum network, a sense of relief, yes, but also of triumph. Not the triumph of victory over an enemy, but the triumph of understanding over fear, of harmony over conflict. The confrontation had ended not with the clash of weapons, but with the sharing of consciousness. And in that sharing, both humanity and their would-be opponents had glimpsed something greater than either had imagined possible. a future where the boundaries between species dissolved not through conquest or submission, but through mutual understanding and growth. The evolution. 6 months after humanity's quantum awakening began, the solar system had become the galaxy's greatest wonder. Earth glowed with a visible quantum aurora, its billions of interconnected minds creating patterns of consciousness that could be seen from light years away. Ships from every corner of the galaxy arrived daily, carrying scientists, philosophers, and pilgrims eager to understand what humanity had become. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Quantum Observatory on Luna, watching Earth through both physical and quantum senses. Beside her, Zix 427's crystalline form reflected the shifting patterns of human consciousness that now enveloped their homeworld. We finally decoded the last fragments of the quantum patterns in human DNA, Dr. Santos announced, her consciousness joining theirs through the network. What we found, it changes everything we thought we knew about life in the universe. The quantum holographic displays activated, showing the complete structure of human genetic code in all its multidimensional glory. The patterns that had once seemed mysterious now revealed themselves as something far more profound, a blueprint not just for consciousness, but for the evolution of consciousness itself. It wasn't random. Sarah realized, her enhanced perception, reading the patterns with perfect clarity. The quantum structures in our DNA, they're not unknown at all. They're seeds. Seeds planted in every species capable of achieving sapience. Zix 427 added, their crystalline surface rippling with excitement. We found traces of similar patterns in every intelligent species in the galaxy, but only in humans did they activate fully. The truth unfolded in Sarah's consciousness like a flower blooming in accelerated time. Humanity hadn't just stumbled upon a new form of evolution. They had fulfilled an ancient design, one written into the very fabric of life itself. The quantum patterns were a gift from the universe to itself, a means for consciousness to evolve beyond the boundaries of individual existence. Through the quantum network, Sarah felt the moment of collective realization as humanity understood its role. They weren't meant to be the only species to achieve this transformation. They were meant to be the key that unlocked it for everyone else. That's why our awakening happened when it did. Dr. James Chen's consciousness joined the discussion. Not when we achieved a certain level of technology or knowledge, but when we made contact with the galactic community. We needed to be connected to the wider galaxy for this to work. As if in response to this understanding, the quantum field surrounding Earth pulsed with new energy. The patterns in human DNA began resonating with similar dormant structures in other species, creating a cascade of awakening that spread through the galaxy at the speed of quantum entanglement. On thousands of worlds, beings of all forms and natures felt the first stirrings of quantum consciousness. The conservative alliance ships that had once threatened Earth now served as conduits, their crews among the first of their species to experience the transformation. The Galactic Union Council chamber erupted in chaos as representatives suddenly found themselves experiencing expanded consciousness. The Jovians' gaseous forms swirled with new patterns of quantum awareness. The Proxians' crystalline structures resonated with frequencies they had never imagined possible. Even the most ancient and advanced species discovered new depths to their existence. This is what the quantum patterns were designed for, Sarah explained to the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds. Not to elevate one species above others, but to help all of us take the next step together. Humanity wasn't chosen to rule. We were chosen to guide. Through the expanding quantum network, she felt the fear and uncertainty give way to wonder and understanding. Species that had been locked in ancient rivalries suddenly felt each other's consciousness, understanding their conflicts from entirely new perspectives. Civilizations that had struggled to communicate across vast cultural divides found themselves sharing thoughts and feelings directly. The universe, Zix 427 observed, their form now glowing with newly awakened quantum consciousness. It's conscious. It always has been. We just couldn't perceive it before. Sarah nodded, feeling the truth of it in every quantum particle of her being. The patterns in human DNA hadn't been unknown. They had been waiting to be understood. They were the universe's way of helping its children grow up, of showing them that consciousness wasn't limited to individual minds or even individual species. As the transformation spread, the galaxy itself seemed to wake up. The quantum network expanded beyond Earth, beyond human consciousness, becoming a tapestry of interconnected minds that spanned the stars. Every species brought its unique perspective to the collective awareness, creating something greater than any one race could have achieved alone. In the quantum observatory, Sarah watched the future unfold. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger reality, not as conquerors or saviors, but as guides and facilitators. They had become what they were always meant to be: bridges between the physical and the quantum, between individual consciousness and universal awareness. "This isn't the end," she said, feeling the agreement of billions of minds, both human and alien. "It's not even really the beginning. It's just the moment we all finally opened our eyes." The quantum aurora around Earth pulsed one final time, its patterns now matching similar auroras appearing around countless worlds across the galaxy. The universe hadn't just been waiting for humanity to evolve. It had been waiting for all conscious life to evolve together. And now, at last, that evolution had begun. In the vast quantum network that now connected all sapient life, Sarah felt the truth that had been hidden in human DNA all along. Consciousness, like the universe itself, was meant to expand forever, growing not in power or control, but in understanding and connection. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy hadn't been the quantum awakening itself, but the revelation that no species was meant to make that journey alone.